Hey guys, what's going on? Sorry for the late stream. As some of you may be aware of, I have some computer issues, and well, it seems to be resolved. I don't know. I uninstalled my Google Chrome, reinstalled it. Hopefully, it doesn't crash anymore. I'm gonna take a chance here and pop out this chat window, and we'll see what happens. Okay, not doing anything too fancy. Looks like the stream's all right. Um, right, so I'll switch my stream view. So, hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Yesterday we built out let's see here, we built out a banking system where we could basically, I'm using a hotkey right now. We're not interacting with an actor. It's not fully set up yet. But we have a user interface where we can see uh, our bank balance in the top right and the money on hand in our purse on the bottom left. And we were able to interact and basically, do we want to deposit? Yes or no, right? And if we do deposit, um, our wallet, our purse gets updated, the money is removed, and that amount gets added to our balance. Um, so what I want to do today is build out some proper functionality, not functionality, but some proper visual elements for the bank widget. So I have a sort of an idea in mind, but I'm gonna share the development process with you guys, I guess. So I'm gonna set up my workspace here, switch over to Photoshop. I believe I have my scenes all set up here. Right, so we have Photoshop, and I can actually bring this all the way down here. Yeah, this is actually a plan for a different asset. Let's close this group and make a new layer. And we'll call it bank plan. Bank widget, whatever. That's cool. Okay. So how do we want to build this? I have a few concepts in mind. I'm trying to get that real world sort of vibe going on. So let's see here. Let's just grab a color for this. I guess green will be cool. Let's make that reference color. And okay, pressure sensitivity looks good. Yeah, so let's just begin plotting this out here. Whoops. Still having that. I don't know if it's a memory issue or what. Do I want sticky keys? No. And so, let's assume this is the player's window and all the widget elements are removed. What I would like to have is some sort of, I don't want to say like picture in picture, but we want to make it feel as if you're looking at the characters through the character's eyes of this widget. So you would see, possibly this would be the screen of the man. That's annoying. Of the bank machine. Maybe you'd have some buttons over here, kind of like, maybe 4 buttons. From memory, I'm just thinking about, bank machines that exist for us. And maybe you would have, the 2/3 mark. It would be indented a little bit. Starting to remind me of a Pokedex or something already. And maybe there'd be like a reader of some sort for an ID card. Not that would be a mechanic in the game, just for, aesthetics of the menu. So the menu would have sort of like an overlay where we would be looking at this machine's hardware, and what I'm thinking of having here is screen elements, and the screen elements would be kind of below this. And it would probably, be something like this. And then here we would have our actual menu. Let's actually move that there. Just reorganizing my layers. Looks like a microwave. At least at the moment. So I suppose I'll make a group out of this and call this bank sample. And then I'll just duplicate this and move these over. So I think we only need 2 layers deep in terms of the actual breakdown, right? Because we would have a layer for basically logging in, and then basically just like the usability of it. So for the login, let's see here. What I'm thinking of having is some sort of, I mentioned this in our last episode yesterday. We would have a progress bar that would say something like connecting, right? Connecting to branch, or authenticating, like whatever. You'd have some sort of text to provide flavor, and we would basically fill the progress bar as over a little bit of time. We'd basically be driven by an animation, the intro animation, all of this stuff. Logging in. So inside of our sample, log in, and then you would have use here. Let's see. Maybe I can do some research, and we'll test the limits of my computer, see if I can use Google Chrome while on the stream, or if I crash or not. Okay. So inside of so there we go, our screen elements layer. Let's select whoops. Oh geez, look at this. This is backwards. Silly me. Wondering why I couldn't select the element I wanted to. Okay, we'll select this and create a mask so I can kind of freely draw in here. And what I want here is probably some sort of bar and the progress bar, right? Did not mean to quick mask. Let's delete that and yep, get back to here. That's more like it. So the text here should read it should be connecting and then a second process for logging in. It might actually be the same bar at the halfway point. It could probably pause for a second. Then our text element would log in. So this will be our text element. This is going to be a vertical strip. And why does my computer want me to put on sticky keys? Okay, let's see. Just play with some compositions here for the menu. You could have a bar at the top. I mean, a lot of our menus do have that, so it could be something we maintain potentially. And this could be, you know, something like bank logo / name. This is awfully annoying. Maybe we want to maintain our. Geez, that's annoying. Yep, we're gonna have to disable this notification. Where are we here? That's what we want. Apply and turn off. Or apply and OK, I guess.
Always scan this section.
Jesus! Okay, what's going on? Oh, I guess by default it reads it for you because the ease of access center. Okay, wow, sorry. Yeah, we want to balance on screen, probably something like this. Let's see here. Yeah, we have our malite symbol, right? We have a text element here as well for the the readout from player menus. And I guess this element should be well, it'll be interesting, that's for sure. Okay, so I think, sorry about that, guys, just looking at some Google images of sort of like banking systems that exist in our world, just sort of as a frame of reference. With like that being said, let's hop back over to our stream feed, and I guess begin the design process for this menu. In terms of laying out some elements in our widget, we'll hop back and forth between these different elements, I suppose. Okay, so let's see here. Here's our UMG folder. If we go to interactions, we have our bank. So this element here, we're gonna have to probably change the theme of many of these elements. Let's collapse. Let's actually move this tab up here just so I can get a larger view of what's going on. And all of these elements, play data, money info, border pack. Yeah, this is kind of, I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. Probably delete that. Oh, you know what? That's using our design initialization. I'll keep it for now, in case we need it. I don't feel like going over to the graph and deleting it right now. Okay, so let's go get a border just for the background. And in the hierarchy, I'll call this a background element. Let's move it up to the top here. And I suppose we can make this full screen. Set our position to origin and just make this our default size. And we'll set the Z order to as -1. And what I'll do is set the background color here of the element. I'll pull that out here for reference in case we need it. And we know for sure that let's get another border. Trying to decide, do we need a border or horizontal box? I guess we can get the individual elements. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to replace this just with a... It's going to be annoying to work with this as a background. I'm actually going to get an image. That way I can't place anything inside of it, because by default everything is going to want to get shoved into that border, and it's going to get really annoying really quickly. We'll just set that back up as it was. 1920 by 1080. Let's change the tint of it to our background color, and set the Z order to -1. In the hierarchy, I'm going to pull up to the top and just call this a background solid. Cool. So that's our bank screen here. Background color anyways. What I do want to get next is a progress bar. And let's see, maybe we want to wrap this with a vertical box. And inside that vertical box, maybe I'll put a text element, and we'll just grab that and move it to the top. So what I want to do here is, let's anchor it to the center of the screen. Set these up as 0 and 0, and we can set the alignment to 0.5. And, well, I definitely want this to be larger. The text box should be centered. Unless it says auto. Let's add a little bit of padding on the top just to create a space between these two elements. And this is going to have to get increased quite a bit to something like, let's just double it and see where we sit. Might be too, let's use regular type. And, connecting, something like that, right? We could use, let's wrap this in a horizontal box. And for now, I'm going to actually hide the play data and the money info. And fill color and opacity, let's just make this a bright green and just so we can see what's going on. Let's flip left to right. And actually, what I would like to do is adjust the background tint and just make that black. And then I believe if we begin to fill this out, yeah, we'll get that thickness. So that's cool. We can control the thickness of both of our elements. So if we make this 1920, we get a full width, which is, I'm kind of liking that look, at least for the initial screen, and I'll make this 0.5 as well, so that that element is centered right on the anchor point. Save those elements, please. So, looking at our vertical box, we can move this over, but if we do, I was hoping to add a vertical element on the right side. That might be a little, hmm. Awkward. Just thinking about how to proceed. Let's quickly mock something up in Photoshop here. So I'm going to switch scenes. Where are we? Okay. Switch back to the Photoshop view. Hey, just noticed the comment. My bad. Hey, you know what? I'm not trying to read that. 2K17, I see your comment. How's it going? Thanks for tuning into the stream. Yeah, what am I doing? Well, we're making our game, Project Grand Vault. It's like a third-person action-adventure game built in Unreal Engine 4. Right now, I'm building like a banking system for the player, sort of following the work we did yesterday, where we built this menu, and we could sort of deposit our money to and from here, and we built up functionality yesterday, but today we're going to build out some of the visual aspects of the user interface for this menu, and maybe build an animation for this as well. Sort of like, imagine you're just depositing money at a bank machine, that type of deal. So, now that I'm back over in Photoshop, let's go to make a new document, and I'm just going to make it our screen size. And a resolution is fine at 72, and transparent is what I want. Okay, so let's save this, and we want to save this in our user interface folder under I'll make a new folder and call it interactions. Whoops, there we go. And we'll just call it the bank underscore master file here. So just like we were drawing in our blueprint space here, we're going to just build up the frame for this element. So just as a really crude way to build this out, I'm just going to select the entire canvas, and let's see here, we can use select, and if we can modify the selection, we can contract it by probably like 25. That might not be enough. Oh, and also, that actually won't work. So here's what we can do. Let's just edit and stroke actually, and we'll just, if we assume that the material on this bank machine is like a gray plastic or something like that, I'll just pick a medium grayish color. Something here looks kind of nice. And what we'll do is we'll just stroke on the inside of the selection, probably about 50 pixels. And now we have a frame. Yeah, that's a bit too small. I'm just going to maybe triple that amount. And just for the sake of getting something in there, pulse bank overlay. And we're actually going to save this as a PNG and bring that into Unreal. Okay, so I'll switch my scenes back over to my Unreal Engine view here, and in my interactions folder, I have a textures folder where I have some other elements already. And I'm just going to navigate to where I saved that file, and we're going to just drag and drop that in here. Yep, here's my overlay. If I drop that in, it imports. And I'm just going to open it up and set it to user interface. So for now, it exists. Okay, so let's grab an image. And actually, well, you know what? We can use the same location and size of our background solid. It's an image already. So let's copy and paste that right on top here. And I'm just going to put that right on top. And I'm going to call this bank overlay. That's how you spell. And we're just going to grab it. And it is applied right now. If we remove this tint, we should be able to see it. And I'll put that at 0. Okay, so there is our frame. Now, we want this to sort of be on top of everything, as if it was a bezel around a real-world screen. So, you know what, instead of 0, I'm actually going to put this at something crazy like 5. Now you can see that we have this effect where this element is on top of our other graphics. Upon thinking about it, you could just build these out with borders for borders and, snap them to these edges of the view screen. But for now, this is kind of like a quick way to sort of set it up, especially if we're planning to go back and add some textures to this element. We would probably want to add some slight textures and some patterns, like just regards to maybe some physical buttons on the bezel like you would see on a banking machine. But in any case, this is it's adequate. I will hide it for now, but it will be totally visible. And if we compile this widget, and if we, come into the game world here and we hit B, you can see our bank menu opens like we in the appearance that we sort of set it up to work in. So from here, let's. Oh, it looks like my mouse died. Just plug that in real quick. Okay. Okay. That should. I just had to move my computer because the mouse wire couldn't reach. Anywho, so let's build an animation for launch. Yeah, that's what we'll call it. And basically, let's make this visible. I just want to adjust the sizing of our vertical box a little bit. Make it a bit tighter here, and we could also add a top border as well. Let's keep it above the background solid and a border, and call this the UI header. And let's see here. We can size it out. Just make sure we grab the handles. And get something like this. And if we grab some of our HUD textures, something like this might be adequate. Just set that image to our brush color, and now we have this kind of this textured pattern that we've used in previous iterations of our menus. So we'll just bring this over here, just make sure it's all within view. And inside of here, inside of the border rather, we probably want to insert a horizontal box. Under panel, yeah. There we go. And then inside the horizontal box, we can put a bunch of different elements. One will be an image, I'm sure of that, and another will be text. Yeah, kind of with that result. I want to center the text and beef it up quite a bit. Hey Julio, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in, man. How's your day going? Yeah, and now I'm typing hello because I can't multitask. Let's see here. Let's call this bank, and I'll just label this image as, bank logo, and this text will be called a text block underscore bank name. Under image, let's see what we want to do here. Fill, probably not. Under image size, we could do something like this. Just keep it kind of square. And you know what? We should actually just put a little bit of padding all around the logo. Something like 10. That seems fine. And on the image itself, let's just adjust this a little bit. That's good, man. The only good part about a crazy busy day is that time goes by super fast. But so does your stress, I guess. When it's busy, get super stressed out, and then time goes by fast. And then I think you begin to sort of lose your lifespan if that persists. Yeah. something like this should look adequate. Let's just grab our let's call this the initialize vertical box. Gonna move this up on our hierarchy here, just so all these elements are kind of on the same area. And what I want to do is just increase the width pretty much like that. 1625. Okay. And from here on our launch animation, let's set it up so that the vertical box initialize. Where are you? Let's add a track for visibility after probably 0.2 seconds. It appears. Let's think about this. Maybe not visibility, probably transform. And you know what? I actually don't want that at all. I want the elements inside of it. And that would be the horizontal box. Initialize text, and I made this horizontal box because I was thinking of putting in a throbber there as well. Right, so we could grab this element, dump it in the horizontal box, and now you have this kind of effect, right? Like, oh, it's connecting. Neat. And we can just drop this down here. Let's see. So we can build out a to get those actual elements. Progress bar underscore initialize. So we'll grab our progress bar and the horizontal box as well. Okay, so those are two elements I actually want to animate. So by default, I think the visibility for that horizontal box will be hidden. Because on launch, at the desired key here, we want it to appear. And we'll call visibility on that. But to start with the progress bar, let's just grab the transform. And probably at the 0 second mark, let's just scale the vertical to 0. That way it sort of, appears, and it's kind of like, oh, that's neat, right? And as soon as this is fully appeared, maybe we'll wait a little bit. We will cue the visibility and set that to visible, so that from here, by the 0 mark, we have to set this to hidden, of course, right? And then that would appear, and then it would say connecting, kind of, a little crude, but it is the desired effect. Okay, so after that point, we probably want to begin not adding the transform of the progress bar, but the actual percentage. And it's actually going to be at 0. And I guess over the course of make a key here for probably 0.5. That way it fills up kind of like this, right? We'll go in here and edit the curve, so it's kind of, so it actually looks like it's connecting, and it's not like a perfect, flawless transfer. And then we will, from that halfway point, we'll go over here and set up the 100% mark. Something kind of like this. At this point, I want to change this text inside the initialized box. So if I, text connecting, if I just call it text, status display, and if I add that element here, so if we grab this, we can set, well, it looks like inside the animation you can set the display of the text content, which is a little less convenient. But we know the time 1 second after the animation starts. Also, right here, what we can do is add our border UI header. And because it's a border, we can add a brush color. I believe a brush color to the opacity, and actually, what we'll have to do is set this to 0 here, and so that sort of fades in. We're going to add another track from this element, which is the content color. And if we open that up, we can expand the content color, and it's actually opposite. We should have set that up a little bit better. Basically, all the elements sort of fade in together, and then you begin your connecting. So if we compile here, just click in the gray space here to unselect your animation. And if we go to the graph, I just saw your comments, Julio. It's a pretty good way to describe it, actually. So here we have the event construct. I guess the animation element, we'll just put a sequence here. So we'll fire this sequence first, and from here we would just do the initialization in terms of playing the animation. And the sequence node helps things stay a little bit more organized. And the animation is called, not target, sorry. If we drag it from the animation we want, we can type in the name of our animation, which was saved, and that's called launch. And right here, I just want to delay 1 second, and at that mark, I want to change the name of that text. So that is our horizontal, not the text block, but the text itself. I'm just going to expose it as a variable, and then grab that on our graph here. And then set text. To logging in, something like that. And then we probably need another delay. It was at 1.5, so we just need another 0.5 second delay for the remainder of that. And I think we're probably gonna let's say something like welcome or whatever. I guess this should be all caps. At that point in the animation, we're going to add some sounds to this as well, just to make it a little bit more dynamic. We're going to grab the throbber. It was already a variable. And I'm just going to grab it and set the visibility of it to hidden. So, once it says welcome, it shouldn't be looking like it's trying to connect anymore. And then after that, so looking at the launch animation here, 0.5, and I think we'll probably just add an extra 10 seconds here, and probably just fade all this stuff out. I wonder, would we be able to just scale the entire box down? I wasn't sure if that would work. I just thought maybe it would be neat if it did, so I thought I'd try it. If we scroll down, grab our vertical box, initialize, and basically add a key right here for transform, so that everything is preserved all the way through. And right here, let's scale that dude down. Oh, not shear. Excuse me. Open that up. Grab this and set to 0, so that it kind of just collapses down. And at that point, so right after our graph here, let's wait, delay 0.1, and I think we'll just grab that dude. Vertical box initialize. Looks like it's not a variable. Let's grab that element and just set visibility to false. Or not false, hidden, excuse me. And that should be our intro animation. Right here we have our toggle input, which allows us to interact with our menu. And you can see we made this function yesterday, time delay to launch animation. So the total time here is 1.6. So now this should work quite well, I believe. Let's just test it out. Okay, so open up our menu here, connecting, logging in, welcome. Kind of super fast, but you get the idea. We're getting somewhere with this. And after that, our other elements should open. However, what are our errors? Nothing crazy. Trying to read property from camera boom function. Oh yeah, I was playing with the neck rotation on our animation blueprint. So there's probably some like nonsense nodes in there right now. Just experimenting with getting our characters to look at objects, but no results on that front yet. I need to do a little bit of research. I was trying to see if I could composite on my own, just playing around in the graph, but I might have to find a tutorial. Okay, so after those elements animate in, we can then begin to play data is actually okay. I'm gonna actually knock this down just it's like tangenting with the border. Just gonna drop this down to 10, and now we have these elements. Things like the money info, which is hidden, and the anchor for it is a top right. So let's just bump this outwards and down here. So we're probably gonna have to um, just animate these a little differently and scale them out and adjust them a little bit. Just looking at my Photoshop design plan we made earlier. From here we have let's expand this. We have our size box, we have a width override, and we could probably make a height override too. So we're gonna definitely be working in here. If we width override, oh yeah, I remember this issue. Let's just bump this over. Grab that border and move it over here. Hmm. Okay. Just looking at some UI reference, some banking websites. Um, Anywho, just in terms of the flow structure and visuals, on the border background solid, just going to actually just grab this default color here. for now. Keep things a little bit more neutral. And what I'm thinking of doing here is it's creating a thematic color tone of this user interface to separate it from our usual kind of gray. I want something a bit brighter and featuring the bank's color, which is green. So let's see. Inside this border, we have a size box and a vertical box organizing several elements. Actually, just one element, but that border is there just for padding to create like a colored trim. I think what we'll do is probably like this is weird. A vertical box containing one element. I'm going to replace this with child. Right? Yeah, because all we lost was that padding, and we can put that padding back if we want it. So let me redo that. Whoops, I guess get back in here. I'll move this over here. Okay, so right, replace with child, and now we have that back there. So the actual border, you can see the brush color is set to this dark default. Just gonna bump that brightness up there, and actually our size box and our another border containing a vertical box, which is fine. The vertical box is kind of perfect. I think. Let's see here. Inside the vertical box, we have two elements for different quantities. And what I want to have here is let's see. Is this structure going to allow me to do what I want? I don't know. Maybe we needed that vertical box back. Just gonna undo all of that. And what I'm gonna add here is another vertical box. So go to our panel here and, or sorry, not a vertical box, we want a border. And drop that in here. I'm gonna put that back. Whoops, no, like so. So head over to our hierarchy, and we have our new border. It's sitting at the bottom, not where I want it. And here we should be able to expand that. I guess not. And both of these borders are to fill, which is why they have a conflict with one another. It's actually okay. We can set that to auto. We'll set the background color to that green we selected earlier. And if I grab a horizontal box, just slide this over and put that here and grab some text as well. We can create a border, basically. It's not a border, it's kind of like a header, almost like a, if this is Windows Explorer, you'd have your window and your heading at the top. That's a little bit thicker with a accent color, which in this case is green. The size box is fine. Let's call this let's see, that's the name. From here, whoops, definitely getting a bit crazy with the size here. And this border here is, well, we can probably just use the just to place that right in its place. And I want to get rid of this pop-up for now. So we'll hide our confirm box. It's a little hard to see those elements. The title here is going to say something like account balance, maybe all caps. You know what, I like info better. And expand our vertical box. Let's edit that text. Temporarily, I'm just going to change the color of it just to make it a bit more visible. Whoops, did not mean to edit the content color. Let's just add the brush color here. I think that's probably fine. You can see here on our menu in phase one, we're basically waiting for a confirmation. We might have to restructure this a little bit, adding some focusing options for some elements, just because I feel that we need to add some context to this menu. Like, you have your account info, and you should have options on this side here. Probably 2. So what we'll create is a vertical box. And whoops, definitely don't want to be moving that layer. Yeah, what we want to be doing is sort of like this. We want to be setting up some borders inside of the vertical box. And those are simply just going to be two, I'll make them identical first. In terms of content, not content color, but in terms of the brush color, we will set it as our default green, and there's some generic text inside of those boxes just to get the button aesthetic. From here we have, you probably want to center that text on the button on both alignments, and from here I'll increase this to 36, add a little bit of padding all around. I think we can copy and paste this. Let's see here. And store a spacer in the vertical box. And we can select it, throw it in there, and just make this a nice, probably 50. So just adjusting the padding and alignment on these buttons. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Okay, that's better. So this border, we'll just call this button underscore withdraw. Give me 1 second here. we'll just have button deposit, and that'll sort of work as our primary input just fine. And let's rename this to button withdraw. And I'll call this last one button history. That's just mostly for aesthetics. Not really planning to have a functional history for your banking transactions. It's kind of ridiculous, but I like the look of like 3 buttons sequentially. Let's grab that spacer and just paste it right into our vertical box. And I'll rename this now to user menu. And this is another element that will appear. I mean, really, they should animate in as part of launch. If you know what I mean. You sort of have all of these elements. Not those, if they're not accounted for, but you would have your menu load, connecting, loading, and then it would say, the text would change. And when these fade out, these should open up. I guess we probably should just label these. And, excuse me, maybe history or something of that nature. Just thinking about how we're going to lay this user interface out. In terms of this overlay, delete that actually. I don't want it. Don't want it. Sort of changed my mind on that front. So right here, after this goes away, just want to confirm our animation time here. So at the 1.5 second mark, it says welcome, and then we wait. Not really waiting, it's all driven by the animation timeline. Basically, at this point, we have it saying welcome, and then it's within that instant, in 1/10 of a second, we get rid of it. Let's hold on that for a little while. What I want to do here is grab the vertical box initialize and collapse the transform. And what we should be able to do is, if I expand this out, we should just be able to grab this over, and now we should get that readout displaying for at least twice as long without anything happening, and then transitioning out. And once it does, we should animate these elements onto screen. And those elements are the vertical box user menu. So I'll scroll down, grab that element, and the other one is, I believe, border money info. So I'll grab that as well. And there they are. We're going to have to add some tracks for these elements. Let's do the vertical box first. grab a transform. I'm going to drop this down here so we can access the data it holds. And they should be hidden until this point. So at 0.3 seconds afterwards, we'll toggle the visibility. And just gonna grab these two elements here, zero these out, so that over the course of those two, we get back to 1. So it kind of... You know what? I don't love it. Definitely don't. Yeah, I think that's definitely better. Keep the scaling on one axis, or else it looks kind of too cheese. And we're going to do the same, similar treatment onto this section up here. Just going to transform and set this scale to 0 and then 1. So kind of just and what I would like to do is just grab those elements and scale them down by 1 and it's getting a little bit difficult to work at this scale. That should work. Okay. So they're kind of one after another. Okay. That's better. We're going to have to update the event graph delays from 0.5 to 0.7. So actually 0.3 will be the delay here. And then we make those elements hidden, and immediately afterwards, I believe it's immediately afterwards, yeah, we need to make those elements visible. So by default, these should be hidden, as should the border money info. And then also the visibility on both of those. We need to expose them as variables first. Now we can set their visibility. So user info and money info. Hooray, we set the visibility. And now let's finally get back in there and see how this looks. So, connecting, login, welcome, and it opens. From here we can, all our functionality is preserved. We can hit no, and then we can back out of here. I am fine with that. let's create that frame again. Yeah, it's a little back and forward with regards to the color scheming of things. Um, but let's add our border elements. So I think I have a plan for how I want to implement these borders. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Basically using a series of boxes. That's the 250. Whoops, 150. Using a series of overlays, potentially. Maybe this should be an overlay instead. But I feel if it's an overlay, we can't really... actually it's fine. We'll put a border inside of here so we can get our base color established. And I think just make that full size. Okay, let's call this bezel underscore left side. Oh, I guess left. So our border here would be something like this. And right here we want to now the order of this does matter. Or maybe it doesn't. Let's grab a horizontal box. I'm a little unfamiliar with overlays, other than that they overlay different elements on top of others. So from here, let's grab an image would work fine. We don't want it to... I'll call this bezel color. All we're going to do is copy this and paste it into here. Now, in the image, we don't have any padding, so why is that space being... There we go. Okay. First I label this as solid underscore. So what I'm trying to do here is basically create some sort of illusion of shape and depth using these borders. We can use 0.66 here. So you can imagine that this is sitting on top, hotspot, and we have a angled slope, which is why it's in shade. The only issue not the only issue, but the issue here is actually it should be fine. So what we can do here is just copy and paste this, and basically just mirror this over. And instead of adjusting the position in a really kind of awkward way, all we have to do is adjust the alignment, I believe, to 1, and it pops it over. And if we expand this, we can just rearrange these elements. Kind of, but not really. Sort of slide these over. And now we have that similar sort of setup. And in a kind of cool fashion here, we're able to actually get I goofed. Get a bit more screen space for ourselves. We can set this anchor to the top and just arrange this like so. Now, what I would honestly like to do is, let's see, can we do something? No, that's gonna cause issues because the borders and we'll just have some rendering issues if we arrange it that way. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to 1920 set this to 0.5 so it's arranged properly, and what we're going to do is just set this to 150. So now it's the right size, but as you can see, this horizontal box, or sorry, we can collapse those and label this bezel underscore right. And this just should simply read out as top. Now from here, we have our border and a horizontal box, which is not what we want. This should... Can we replace this with a vertical box? Hot diggity, we can. Okay, and we just align this like so, and align it onto the bottom. And we're already getting a similar result. The result we're kind of looking for. And we have our measurement. We could just set this to 9. And then we have our bezel. The only problem is it's awkward in its setup. So what we could do here is wrap this with a size box. Oh, excuse me. I meant a size box, not a scale box. Okay, and from here we can set a width override. Right? No, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Let's get rid of that and basically getting something like this. However, there is an issue, and it's slight. we should be able to copy and paste this here. And placing this inside the horizontal box should solve that issue. The only thing is I don't know which element is which. If we set this to fill, nope. Okay, we're getting close to what I want. You can see essentially the result. If we remove all the padding, we can kind of basically fake the idea of a bezel. And what I want to do is edge and full shade side. And unfortunately, we can copy and paste both. So those are now duplicated over here. And shade side. I definitely don't think all these have to be exposed as variables. Nothing should be happening with them. Edge right. Both edge left. And this would be something like shade mid. And I'll just uncheck all of this. If we persist this way, we're going to have a giant list of variables in our graph, and we're never going to be editing them. Okay, in terms of our UI header, I'll slide that back down. It's a little hasty in setting it up. So I just want to quickly test how this looks. Well, close to. Really close to what I'm trying to achieve here. But it's getting there. Yeah, we're gonna hide that as well. So we have a horizontal box with no padding, but the vertical box does have padding. And the bottom we want 0. That way it's flush. And then what we're gonna do is copy. I'm just gonna rename this properly. Call this bezel underscore top, and we're gonna paste this last bezel, and it's gonna go right to the bottom. Today I cannot type. How sad. Okay. Set the anchor point to the bottom, and we're just going to pop that over here and set this to not 0.5, set this to 1. And there it is. It's only issue is the orientation needs to be mirrored. And all I'm going to do for this is inside of the vertical box, So I grab the vertical box, instead of applying to the bottom, I'm aligned to the top. And then just shift this element down, and that should be all we need. Except for this top padding has to be set to 0. So now we kind of sort of have the effect we're looking for. And if I look at the vertical box, I guess that's not an issue. Up here, looks adequate, anyways. Now I'm aware that these buttons are now the same color as the background and all of that. But we got a fairly adequate setup here. What to do next? Let's see. We should develop the functionality for these elements in terms of selecting and being able to draw up this menu. So maybe just temporarily I will disable the visibility of our background solid, just so I can look through here. And so we have a border, which is a button, that is the same color, and I suppose what we could do is just wrap this inside of another border. Well, there's several different ways we could set this up. One option would be to, we still need the borders as containers, so I'm not going to delete them. Like structurally, I mean, we need to keep them. But just an idea, what if we... I'm not sure if this is going to look good or bad. Might have to just accept the result that I leave it as. But I'm just thinking of using a series of borders. I mean, they could be set up using an overlay. An overlay or a border? I'll try a border. Basically a background element that would sit on top of the solid. And one that we would use vertical boxes and horizontal boxes with images within them, just to sort of fill out space and create lines and divisions for all these visual elements. Because I do want a box down here that would sort of provide context to the user, that it would say something like, oh, select the desired action, are you sure, all that kind of stuff, right? So with that in mind, let's grab a border, apply it to our background, and the Z order is 0, our solid is -1, so that should be just fine. The actual content color can remain white for now, and we're going to make great use of that if we ever need to change the, what's inside. But the actual color of our background, we'll just leave it as a transparent red for now, just so it stands out. And what I want to do here is just set this up so it's 150. We know that's the numbers we are using. And from the top, it would also be 150. So it's right in frame. And we get like 1625, I believe. And the size here is 780, looks like it. I mean, we could always make that larger just for the sake of like bleed for UI scaling, but that's something that can be adjusted on the fly and later. Yeah, these bezels, the Z order has to be, let's put it 3, is a safe value. Okay, so we have our border, let's call it border division, div for short. And what I want to do here is start inserting some vertical boxes in here, just sort of as a way to begin slapping down these lines. I think six looks pretty tight, pretty good. I'm going to be using spacers for the most part, because I don't like to be working with padding in these instances. So, using the spacer, we can pop these lines out so that they are, right where we want them to be. I'm looking at that right now. Maybe we want to make this something a little thicker. Possibly like this. Let's see here. And let's just duplicate these two elements, throw them back in. And we want the spacer, again, to be dividing out the border first. And you know what? We're going to need a horizontal box, because we're going to start doing this horizontally as well. Just going to move that right here. And I guess fill would work. But what I want is this up here. In terms of the horizontal output, we'd kind of just use the same items. However, we don't necessarily care about the Y spacing. We want the X, the thickness. And just move this over, and now we need to bump this out. So it's something kind of like this. So you can see we're getting a division. Back on the border div, I think it's fine enough for us to reduce that to 0, so it's fully transparent. Turn on the background solid, and now we can begin adjusting this and getting a better understanding of the state of the visuals here. The spacer is fine on this side. We're probably looking at our menu here, let's grab our money info, as it were, and just, I guess, slide this out over here. And in our size box, we can sort of stretch and expand these elements. And that includes these elements here. Now, I don't think, well, I don't plan anyways for this kind of information to be exceeding these bounds. I wonder if we can replace this with an image. Not really. Let's just grab an image and throw it into the vertical box so it goes right to the bottom. If we hide this, so this is basically going to be 190. Just trying to replace this because what I want here is just to get a little bit of like an accent space for this. Like we're going to insert text here, a text widget. That'll give context to the player. And that spacer can be removed now. That's serving the same purpose. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. Sort of getting the effect we want. You have your account info. And you know what, just for, it's kind of excessive in terms of the way we're using space here. Let's just shove these elements over. And just use it as a way to sort of frame our money info border here. Grabbing the size box, we'll just adjust it so it fits. Move my divider up on the hierarchy to, well, beside the background solid, because they're somewhat related. Let's see here. And the cool part is we can take the content color and change it to whatever we want. We can make like a monochromatic color scheme here, where it's all green or green and gray or whatever. Bank and bank logo. Well, don't have a bank logo right now. Account info. So into the vertical box, we have a horizontal box here, and we can copy and paste this right in its place. Text block balance, let's shove that right over here. Add some padding to the right side, about 50. Not 50 at all. So let's set this to a full width, and what I want to do is, whoops, that's not what we want at all. That's better. And just slide these over. I definitely want this to be left justified. That's better. And this would say balance. Right, this horizontal box would definitely slide over here. But we're going to add a bit of padding to the right, probably 100. That's a bit aggressive. That's better. Here's our options. Now, inside our user menu, I'm going to save, because I haven't done that in a while, and who knows? Who knows if something terrible were to happen? We would lose all of our work. So inside our vertical box, and let's adjust these values. Can we wrap this with a size box? Whoops, not a scroll box. Definitely not a scroll box. And probably wrap this with a border. And I believe using size to content will actually allow us to use this size box and allow us to use it effectively anyways. But yeah, this would say user menu. Might have to adjust the launch animation a little bit because of this hierarchy. Yeah, I'll have to be hidden. And set this to, oops, content. We want preserved. We want to make this border transparent though. Yeah, that isn't bad actually. Let's set this to 50. And what I want to do here is, can I wrap this in another border? Not what I wanted at all. What's easier, to adjust the padding on everything or just to rename everything? I think it's easier just to rename everything. What I mean is I want to be able to create an outline for these borders. So we either have to rewrap the text or rewrap the button itself. Button face history. And we're gonna have to expose all of these probably. button history. And we're just going to be doing the same here, wrapping all of these with borders on borders. Select the 4. I'm going to copy that and just add the word face, and that ain't bad. Okay. Wrap this with a border as well, and that should be the last one. Cool. And I just gotta change up the padding here. Okay, so now that should allow us to, once we expose them anyways, it will allow us to set colors on the, see, I was thinking, do we have to expose both? Can we expose a button only? And would we be able to, I believe, we have access to, the border color itself, plus the content color, which kind of works. Unfortunately, the content, to get the effect I want, I might have to expose both. So we don't have that flexibility to remove that default green that's on the button faces. But that's no big deal. So we'll expose those elements. And looks like I'm a little bit over time here. I do have we got some kind of critical stuff we're working on, some deadlines in that sense here at Dead Cell Games. So I don't want to go too crazy here, but just to explain this, the reason why I went with the overlay box, because I want to, well, ideally see, can we overlay something like a vertical box onto here as well, and have that sit on top. Make it full width, and I just want to see, are we able to, for instance, insert an image into here. So we have our image, and we probably want this to be on top of our horizontal box. How does the hierarchy break down here? Right, that's actually fine. And that's a little misleading. So the overlay box, it looks like the hierarchy works downwards. Whatever you layer below is actually above, which is totally cool. Totally cool. We want to add next is a spacer to that vertical box, and just pop that at the top and just expand that. And if can we shrink this to something like 20? Oh, even better. Let's go with 10 and make it black and put this at like 0.25 or something. Actually, maybe something a little bit more aggressive. 0.01. No, that's too much. But we're trying to, layer this through, right? Yeah, you can kind of probably guess where I'm going with this kind of idea. I mean, we need to fine tune the visuals a bit, but yeah, the idea of those uh, kind of lines that we have that kind of link the metal buttons in our work in the on the bezel to the display options, right? That you have on a normal bank machine. Anyways, yeah, we'll touch back on this, or we'll continue this tomorrow. Um, Thanks for watching, guys. Like I mentioned, we got some pretty uh, important things, deadline-wise, that I need to address. But I'll be continuing this again tomorrow, right where I'm leaving it off here. Unfortunately, I can't work on this anymore today, but just for the stream, uh, for the development streams, I just wanted to have kind of like a progression of a task that we're sort of working towards, and eventually um, going to build and flesh out in a fully uh, functional way, with like UI, modeling, programming, that kind of stuff. So, yep. Thanks for watching, guys. Likes and subs are greatly appreciated, as you probably already know. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Later.